Welcome again to our webinar this evening. I think everybody here knows Chris and Michelle from Dragon Wolf Travel. Tonight we are going to be talking a little bit about AmaWaterways Stars of South Africa Land and River Cruise Tour. And we are going to be introducing our guest of honor, Todd Ney, who is AmaWaterways Egypt and Africa Specialist. So he's going to be taking us through some of his exciting journeys because he has been there many, many, many times, I'm jealous to say. We do have the chat box open, so if you have questions, you can type them into the chat box. Todd will answer any questions at the end of the webinar. And you guys who are here already do have our contact information. So without further ado, thank you, Todd. Take it away.
Hi, guys. I hope you can all hear me. And I am Todd Ney, Product Manager for AmaWaterways here in actually Los Angeles. And I'm going to tell you about this pretty special Africa program that we've been operating for actually more than a decade now, almost 15 years down in this part of the world. And when I say this part of the world, here's the map. And the Stars of South Africa is a program that includes Cape Town, a 4-night cruise on the Chobe River. You can see up there in the inside box. We visit Victoria Falls, visit Johannesburg, and we visit Greater Kruger National Park. So many of these places are like we all dream of visiting one time in our life, and hopefully we can get you down there and for you to experience. So our program is 3 nights in Cape Town, 4 nights up on the cruise, 2 nights in Victoria Falls, followed by 2 nights in Johannesburg, and 3 nights in Greater Kruger National Park. So let's start the itinerary. It's a 2-week itinerary, 14 nights, 15 days. Gotta put my glasses on here. And we're gonna start with our first 3 nights in Cape Town, where the program starts. Cape Town, probably one of the most beautiful cities in terms of its setting anywhere in the world. It's on not the southernmost point of South Africa, but the southernmost southwest point of South Africa. Very multicultural city, about 4 million people. Most of the people here come from East Asia, South Asia, as well as Africa, and to a smaller degree, Europe. It's a city on the go. The setting, like I said, you got Table Mountain in the background, and it's just so much going on there. And the way it works with us is you're going to fly down to Cape Town, and good thing now is from the East Coast of the US, there are nonstop flights to Cape Town from Atlanta as well as New York. And when you land in Cape Town, we're there for you at the airport, put you in a Mercedes with your chauffeur driver, and we'll take you to the hotel. So what I'm trying to say is basically you're handheld from the time you get off the plane in Cape Town till the time you get on the plane on your way home at the end of the trip. When you're in Cape Town, we stay at this hotel called the Cape Grace Hotel. This is a beautiful hotel. It's always rated in the top 100 hotels in the world. It actually was shut down. Well, not shut down. It closed for the last year, and it opened up again pretty much in April. And with a 1-year, it was refurbishment. So the hotel was completely refurbished earlier this year. It's closed for a year. Good thing about this hotel is even though it was shut down, they still paid their employees. So the hotel itself is a 5-star hotel, and the location can't be beat. It's right in the downtown waterfront area where there's all kinds of things going on, outdoor markets, street vendors, shops, restaurants, even amusement rides, stuff like that. So lots of things going on. If you've ever been to like the waterfront Embarcadero in San Francisco, it's like that, except actually much more entertaining. And you can see out in the background, beautiful Table Mountain. And we'll talk about that a bit later. So on day one, you are going to arrive. We're going to meet you at the airport. We'll get you to the hotel. That's where you're going to meet the AMA tour director. And the tour director will have a welcome reception, cocktail reception with heavy appetizers on day one of arrival. And then the next day, we're going to head out to Cape Hope or Cape Point. As you can see, it's not the southernmost point, just like Cape Town, but it's pretty close. Incredible lighthouse. And if you look at that photo there on the bottom left-hand side, the left-hand side is actually the Atlantic Ocean, and the right-hand side is the Indian Ocean. And because the currents come on from the Atlantic up from Antarctica, and the currents on the Indian Ocean side come from the Indian Ocean or up to the tropics, the water on the right side is actually about 15 degrees warmer than it is on the left side, even though, they're less than a mile apart. And you will be able to get up to the lighthouse. You'll see a lot of ostriches, wild ostriches, baboons are all over the place. And another cool thing along the way is, let's just do this. And stop at Boulders Beach, an incredible beach. History behind this beach is back in the early 1980s, about 15 penguins washed up on shore. They were Antarctic penguins, and they, found their way up from Antarctica to this beach in South Africa called Boulders Beach. They made it their home, began to repopulate. Today, there are over almost 3,000 penguins living along the coastside of South Africa. They've evolved into their landscape so quickly, now they're officially called African penguins and not Antarctic penguins. And they're kind of getting, the growth has stopped. A lot of great white sharks and things are eating them up, I guess, but hopefully we'll be able to bring them back. And they are spreading up the coast of Mozambique as well as up the coast to Namibia. I'm a big fan of documentaries, and this beach is an incredible beach. So if you've never seen this documentary called My Octopus Teacher, this is the one maybe over the next week, over the holidays, that you can watch it. It actually takes place on Boulders Beach, and this is the place that you'll be going. And on Boulders Beach, the story behind the My Octopus Teacher is there's a fellow that lives near the beach, and every day he went swimming in the beach. The water's cold down there, and he went snorkeling, and eventually he meets up with an octopus, and they become buddies. And every day he's in the water, meets up with the octopus, and what's so amazing is the relationship these two develop, and you'll find just how smart octopus are. This came out back in 2019. It actually won Best Documentary in the Academy Awards. So if you haven't seen it, tune in on Netflix. We'll also visit Cock Bay, and the reason I put this in here is on a stormy day or a windy day, not necessarily stormy, we have a beautiful seafood lunch here. Most of our meals include wine and beer, local wine and beer, and probably I would say 95% of the meals on this program are included. There's a couple of dinners that we don't include, gives you some free time, but for the most part, most meals are included. So Cock Bay, you can see the restaurant there on the right-hand side. It's called the Harbor House, and on a super stormy day, while you're enjoying your beautiful seafood lunch, waves will come smashing over the restaurant. It's kind of cool. And that's your day out, the Cape Hope. Why do they call it Cape Hope? Because back in the day, 1600s, when the explorers and traders were going back from Asia up to Europe or vice versa, once they got to this point of their journey, it was kind of like the halfway point. And so Cape Hope, it was the hope that they would finish their journey. First, on the second night, you have a free evening to explore the waterfront. The next day, we're going to head, you have a choice of sightseeing. Either go to the Winelands, just outside Cape Town, or a place called Robben Island. If you go to the Winelands, you choose before you leave on the trip. You'll visit 2 wineries and also have a tasting menu. Kind of cool that one of the wineries is an organic winery. If you want to sort of picture where the Cape Winelands are, think of, say, San Francisco and Napa and Sonoma Valley. It's kind of like an hour outside of Cape Town. South Africa is known for its wine, probably some of the best wines in the world. And I know as a kid growing up where I did, my dad, that's all he drank was South African wine. And not to get too personal, probably a little too much, but at the end of the day, that's where I learned how great South African wines were. So I also said that we'll visit a restaurant and you have a tasting menu, food pairing. Our guide that takes you out to the winelands, she actually has a doctorate in this type of stuff, winology or the grapes. Incredible sense of humor. You'll learn a lot on this journey. The other option you could do is don't go to the winelands, but go to a place called Robben Island. And Robben Island is located about 45 minutes off the coast of Cape Town. It was at one time used as a place of quarantine back in the 16, 17, 1800s. You know, people coming down from Europe or other parts of the world, they would have to stay here to make sure they didn't have leprosy. And then they were allowed to come to the mainland. Then they built a prison on Robben Island, and that prison is the Robben Island Prison. And it's a historic prison. This is actually where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for nearly 2 decades. And because of the, you know, his protests against apartheid. But we'll get into that in a bit later. But the thing about the prison tour is you got to remember Nelson was in jail there for almost 20 years. He met a warden of the prison. His name was Christo. And even though Nelson was in prison and Christo was on the other side of the bars, they actually became best friends. And when Nelson was released from prison, apartheid ended. He went on to become president. Him and Christo remained best friends until Nelson died in 2015. So when we do the tour of the prison, it's a private tour and it will be given by Christo. So Christo will tell you what it was like being Nelson Mandela's friend. Pretty incredible story. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's a pretty emotional trip going through the prison at Robben Island, and you'll have a lot more respect for Nelson. Not that you didn't once you've done this tour of the prison. After the prison, we're going to go back to the waterfront, and we're going to go to the Karibu South African restaurant. This is the local cuisine. Local cuisine in South Africa is an influence of Asian, European, African, and South African, I guess. So it's a mix of things, but it seems like South Asia has a huge influence on the cuisine in this part of the world. I always say that about the time I was down there a few years back, and the team down there said, "Oh, we got a Mexican restaurant. You know how we all go to Mexican restaurants, right?" And they go, "Oh, we got to go. Can we take you to our great Mexican restaurant? We'll make your reservations, blah, blah, blah." And I go, "Okay, let's go." You know, and so when I get down there, we go to the Mexican restaurant. First of all, I don't know why they made reservations because we were the only ones in there. But number two is, you know, you have chicken tacos, beef tacos. Not down in South Africa. Everything in that Mexican restaurant was lamb. Lamb tacos, lamb enchilada, lamb everything. Lamb's not the favorite for a lot of people, me included. But if you love lamb, then you can go to the Mexican restaurant. But if you don't like lamb, skip the Mexican and try the South Asian food and the local food. But it just shows you every country is different. And let's see, I got to keep going here. Also, after lunch, we're going to head into Bocap. This is the original neighborhood of Cape Town. And unfortunately, back when they started to build Cape Town, they brought in slaves from Malaysia to build the city. And this is where they actually settled. It's a Muslim community. It's an incredibly colorful community. The people are super friendly. And it's a great way to learn about a neighborhood that you would rarely see on, well, most people wouldn't even see when they come to Cape Town. The whole idea is to show you the real Cape Town. So we'll do a little short walking tour of Bocap, and it helps you learn, and you learn the history of why Cape Town is what it is today. And then after Bocap, we're going to head over to Table Mountain. And we are going to take a cable car ride to the top of Table Mountain for spectacular views. You see the little cable car there, it twirls around and around and around, so you get super great views. And that island way out there in the there, that is actually Robben Island. So yes, you're traveling in June. Table Mountain will be open. It usually closes like middle of July through middle of August for annual maintenance, but I think you're looking at June and October for dates, so Robben Island should be open. So we've just spent 3 nights in Cape Town at the beautiful Cape Grace Hotel, and then we're going to get on a plane and we're going to fly up to the Zambezi Queen. And when I say we get on a plane, we're getting on an airline. Usually we use Airlink. These aren't bush planes, they are jets, 100, 150 passenger jets. And they actually, Airlink is the major airline down there in South Africa, and they actually partner up with United Airlines. So it tells you kind of like who they are. You can get your miles and mileage plus and stuff like that. So we head up to the Zambezi Queen. It's on the Chobe River, and the Chobe River forms the border between Namibia and Botswana. The Zambezi Queen is just AmaGuest. It's an Ama cruise. And the ship only has 14 suites. They all come with a balcony. And those are the first 2 decks. And then up on the top deck there, we have a lounge, incredible lounge, the restaurant, as well as a splash pool and a bar. The ship itself, all the rooms do have air conditioning. They don't have TVs. We're in a pretty remote part of the world, and you don't need it because your TV is what you're looking out on the ship. The crew is amazing. They're local, they're Namibian, and they live in the villages along the river. And I'll talk about that in a moment. When it comes to Wi-Fi, that question always comes up. Yes, we do have Wi-Fi here, but it's not great. I'm going to be honest with you. It's satellite. It's all we can get there. So usually it works better in the evening on the top deck when the skies are clear. Not so great in the rooms, but you know, at times it will work in the room. In terms of the cruising, the whole idea of the ship is we are exploring 40 square kilometers of the Chobe River. And you can see the map here, a close-up map. The Chobe River forms the border between Namibia and Botswana, but we're also very close to Zimbabwe and Zambia. And it's not like a cruise that you do in Europe on a river where every day is a new port of call. We are exploring 40 square kilometers of the Chobe River. So you're going up the river, down the river, around this island, and it's different. It's not like Europe. We don't cruise at night. The ship has to tie up to a buoy at night. Actually, you're not allowed to cruise on the river at night. So it's usually, you know, sunrise to sunset is when we are exploring the river, and there's other ways that we explore the river, but I just want to show you something, a video.
Welcome to our dear guests. We say, well, welcome.
can't get over the crew. They are absolutely amazing. If anybody has the best smile in the world, it's the Namibians. And it's kind of infectious, very friendly. They love having us on as guests. And I don't know, it's just a warm feeling being on. The food. The food is great. It's 5-star home cooked food. And just the one more. Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry, guys. The food, the restaurants, 5-star home cooked food. That's the way I call it. The chef, she comes from the village. She works there with her son in the kitchen. It's a 2-person team. And the food is continental, but it's also local. So you get Namibian cuisine as well as, if you want, a steak from the US or something, you'll get there. What you can't get is kosher. But if you're dietary restrictions, dairy-free, gluten-free, something like that, there are no issues. And why does this take a while? Different charts. So, the food is, you'll enjoy it. Most of the food is imported from South Africa. So what I need to tell you is if you do have diet restrictions, you need to tell us well in advance, maybe by, final payment or something like that. So the food is shipped up each week from South Africa. That's really important. On the Zambezi Queen, it's a local beer, local spirits, local wine are included. So any time of the day, there's Moses, again, 2 Moses working at the bar, and just help yourself. They usually have a drink of the day too that is inspired by the local wildlife, pretty colorful drinks. If you need a fancy drink like Grey Goose or Canadian Club or something like that that they have to import, you'll have to pay a premium for you'll have to pay extra for the premium drinks. Still not that much. I think this year it's like $7 for a drink. Pretty cheap. This is the lounge on the Zambezi Queen, and it's pretty amazing. And I have to admit, just looking out onto the river, it's just so relaxing. I'm the type of guy that has to boom, 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 go, go. I don't know how to sit still. I really don't. But within 36 hours of being on this boat, I turn into a slug. It is the most absolutely relaxing feeling on this boat, sitting in these chairs, looking out at the view as the ship makes its way down the river, maybe a little music playing in the background lightly. I don't know, I don't drink wine, but maybe a beer in my hand or something like that. It's actually great getting to know your fellow travelers. It's very inclusive. It's a small ship, only 28 people, so you get to know each other well as getting to know the crew. The rooms on the ship, they're all suites and they all come with a balcony. This is actually one of the smaller rooms, smaller suites. King bed or 2 beds, it's up to you. Walk-in shower, no bathtubs, hot and cold water, obviously, and all the rooms are air conditioned. And again, you can get Wi-Fi down here, but it works better upstairs. But the whole idea of this trip, let's disconnect, right? So don't know what's going on in the rest of the world. Here's one of the larger suites where it actually comes with 2 balconies at the front of the boat. And to be honest with you, the balconies are absolutely wonderful. You can go out there, read a book, but often you'll want to be on the top deck because when you're on the top deck, you see both sides. When you're in a room, you're only looking out at one side and you never know where the animals are going to be. There isn't one good side of the ship or other, doesn't matter. So don't worry about that part. And you'll see what I mean once you're on the boat that, yeah, the suites are great. Being up on the lobby is just as great or maybe a little tiny better. You'll see. We do morning and afternoon safaris from the Zambezi Queen, and we get in smaller boats. And this way, we can get into the little channels, tributaries of the Chobe River. And usually we put about 8 or 9 people on each safari boat, and you have your own private guide. Take a look at those elephants there. If you love elephants, this is the place to go. There are more elephants per square kilometer in this part of the world than anywhere else. So elephants, this is the place to do it. Here's a better example of what the boats look like on the safari. Look at that little canvas thing on the boat at the back. What is that? That's actually a restroom. So when you head out on a safari, if you're out for 2 or 3 hours, don't worry about it. Just go back and use the restroom. What you can't see, but it's there, is also a little cooler. Work your way back to the cooler, help yourself to a glass of wine, bottle of beer or spirit, or even a Coca-Cola. So you could be sipping away, watching all the animals go by. Pretty crazy. Here's a picture of, when you're on these morning and afternoon safaris, you do have downtime in the after, lunch and middle afternoon. The animals are most active at sunrise and sunset. But there are activities to do. We visit a village. You can actually go fishing, catch, and release. So we got the tiger fish. We got giraffes in here. This picture, I put that in because they're probably my favorite animal. And the zebras are my second favorite. And I put the zebras in here because about 20 years ago, they discovered that, they have a great migration in East Africa with the wildebeest when they run over the river and the crocs catch them. Well, here they actually have a great migration of the zebra. And they work their way around Angola, Botswana, Namibia, and Zambia. So if you love zebras, this is the place to go. Now, I'm hoping this next video worked, but I don't know if we're going to get sound. It's only about 15 seconds long. Watch this. This was taken by one of our guests. The thing about the Chobe is they do have a wet season, December, January, and February. And during the wet season, they get these afternoon thunderstorms. They get grass grows pretty tall. They get some watering holes in the park. And so when that happens, the animals really don't have to come down to the river because they got watering holes throughout the land. The other thing is the grass is much taller during the wet season, so it's harder to spot animals. So we only travel in this area during the dry season when all the animals have to come down to the river for their water, including the elephants. If you like hippos, you're going to see a lot of those too. You'll see the big four here in this part of the world. You see the big five in Kruger National Park. Let's just go to the next slide. Let's see, why won't this go? This slide. I actually like this slide, not because I don't know what happened to the egret, but a guest took this picture. And again, this shows you how close you can get to the animals along the river. No persons were harmed in this photo. Is that the way it goes? Some commercial, something like that. Anyways, animals you'll see along the river are the lion, crocs, hippos. You'll see giraffes down there and zebras. What you're not going to see are rhinos, and you won't see rhinos until you get to Kruger National Park. Rhinos are endangered, but you will get to see them in Kruger, and that completes your big five. Also on this trip, we'll spend one day. We're going to get off the boat, and we're going to go into Botswana, and we're going to do a land safari into the heart of Chobe National Park. This is where you'll get to see some of the animals that haven't made their way down the river, and they're living in the inland from the river. And during this time, when we're out in the park, we will have an outdoor picnic in the heart of Chobe National Park. And then again, another way of experiencing a safari. So by boat as well by vehicle. And so we got a few pictures again of the pool. The local scene, I tell you right now, like I said, look at them smile. We will get the opportunity to visit a small village. And there are like 3 villages along the river. And the crew on the Zambezi Queen, they all come from the villages. So, they go home for it's a great job for them. And working on the Zambezi Queen, they enjoy it. but they'll invite us into their home, and we help support the village. But when you get there as a group, they'll do some singing and dancing. We'll tell them a little bit. They're very proud of their village, and they'll tell you, the history of the kids do. We'll actually visit a local school in the area too. They do sell some arts and crafts. I don't know where they actually come from, but it's a good way income for the village. People do say, "Is there anything we can donate when we come to the village?" And to be honest with you, I think that is most needed are toiletry things, shampoo, soap, feminine hygiene products, dental floss, toothpaste. Those are the things. They don't really need pens, pencils, or books or anything like that. The kids get excited if you bring them a colorful t-shirt with we'll see you down in Florida, I think, Florida Panthers, isn't that a hockey team? Didn't they just win the Stanley Cup? You bring a shirt with a logo on it. They love that, okay? Here's the story I want to tell you about. This is Vaughn and his wife, and they went to the village, and he noticed that the kids were playing soccer with balls like you see there on the left-hand side. Why are they playing soccer with a ball looking like that? And he asked the question, and they said, well, we used to have regular balls, but they would get a hole in them, and they didn't have a pump to pump them back up, patches or anything like that. And so they make a soccer ball out of cloth. And when Vaughn came back, he kind of like, how can we make this better for these kids? So we found a place up in Northern California that makes these balls that cannot pop, can't get holes. They're kind of like airless soccer balls. And he called me up and he said, I'd like to get these shipped down to the village. How could I do that? And so I called some people up that were headed down just out of the blue. I said, would you mind taking a couple of duffel bags down with you full of balls? We'll pay for the extra luggage. And the guest actually said, yeah. He took them down, and these are the kids when they get the balls. So you can just see a simple thing. A ball can make people so happy. So it's the small things in life. After 5 days on the Chobe River, we're going to head over to Victoria Falls. Forms the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia. Incredible place, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. We're going to stay at the beautiful 5-star Victoria Falls Hotel. If you've ever been up through the Canadian Rockies, you see these big hotels, Advanced Springs Hotel, Chateau Lake Louise, all built by the railway to bring tourists in. Same concept here from the 1920s. Railway came in, they wanted to bring people in here, tourists in, they built the Victoria Falls Hotel. Very historic, very iconic. When we're at the Victoria Falls Hotel, you have a sweeping view of the gorge of Victoria Falls. Look at the room there. We actually stay in upgraded rooms. They have standard rooms, deluxe rooms, and up on the 3rd tier, upgraded rooms, we stay in the upgraded stable wing. Maybe the horses stayed there at one time. I don't know. But right now we got these nice rooms in the stable wing. And one thing I want to show you is that look at the netting around the bed. It tells you that there are mosquitoes in this part of the world. Usually not as much in the dry season when you're going to be there. But in this part of the world, when there's mosquitoes, there's malaria. So I have to bring that up that there is malaria zone on the Chobe River, Victoria Falls, and in Kruger National Park. No malaria in Johannesburg or Cape Town. But it's up to you. There's no mandatory vaccinations or medication, but check with your doctor and have your doctor decide what's best for you. Personally, I do take my Malarone, which is the medication for malaria when I travel this part of the world. I've met people with malaria and they've told me what it's all about and you don't want to go through it. Anyways, we've never had a case of anyone testing positive for malaria, so don't worry. We take good care of you, and it's up to you. It's your decision. When we're in Victoria Falls, you'll definitely do a 2-hour walking tour along the falls. You'll get some great pictures. The falls in June will be spectacular. It's kind of like 4 months after the dry season has started. Most of the water is coming down from the mountains of Angola. And this is kind of like, this is the perfect time. If you come too early in the year, there's too much water. You go later in the year, it's late August, early September, not as much water. So this is actually a perfect time to go. Speaking of trains earlier, we are going to take a train journey while we're in Victoria Falls, and we're going to get our own private carriage car. And we're going to have a cocktail reception in the carriage car. And as the train winds its way through Victoria Falls, eventually we're going to make our way onto the bridge between Zimbabwe and Zambia. And this is here where you'll have dinner on the train, overlooking the falls with the sunset. Again, with our dinners, wine, local beer, drinks are always included. And also on the bridge there, it's kind of fun. If you feel like getting up, there are vendors, a few vendors from Zambia selling things along the way, so you can get out and do some shopping if you like. But again, it's a sort of a, it's almost like the train to ourselves sort of thing. People ask about currency and stuff in this part of the world. Zimbabwe, the US dollar is the official currency. And just as long as of today, they're newer than 2017. The bills, they'll accept you. Of course, when you're in South Africa, it's the rand. And when you're on the Zambezi Queen, you can pay in US dollars or South African rand. One of the nights too, we'll have dinner at what they call the Jungle Junction at the Victoria Falls Hotel. Great food, probably the best buffet meal I've ever had. And during this time, you'll be entertained by musicians, drummers, so on like that. A lot of dancing. It's actually a lot of fun. Also in Victoria Falls, one night we're going to head out onto the Zambezi Royal, which is our own private boat. We bring a historian on board. We'll serve appetizers, cocktails, and we have a historian on board while you're looking out, telling his story, the history of Victoria Falls, while you're looking out onto the river, hippos, crocs, whatever you may be out there. It's just a really great, fun, early evening out, if that makes sense. One of the great activities, probably a highlight for so many people, is a helicopter ride over Victoria Falls. This is actually an optional trip, but it's a 11 to 13 minute ride over Victoria Falls. So you get a totally different perspective of what's going on with Victoria Falls. So just keep that in mind. We'll talk about it later in the trip. But again, this is a huge highlight, once in a lifetime type of trip to do, is to fly over Victoria Falls. So anyways, once we're finished for 2 nights in Victoria Falls, we're going to board another jet, like an Airbus or a 737. Just want to reiterate that. And we're going to fly down to Johannesburg or Joburg. This is a pretty cool city. It's a city on the go. You know, 15, 20 years ago, it kind of got a bad rap. It's changing. And you look at those purple flowers there. Those are called jacaranda. That tells you these jacarandas actually grow in the Los Angeles area. So it kind of gives you the same type of climate in Johannesburg. A lot of people don't know, it's one of the largest cities in all the continent of Africa. And it's actually 5,500 feet above sea level. That's high. You're going to be down there in June, which will be wintertime in Johannesburg. And so you can expect temperatures probably in the 60s or low 70s during the day, 30s at night, because of the elevation. What's kind of unique about Johannesburg, it's the only major city in the world that was built without a transportation link. Most rivers are either built on a river, you know, to up and down the river, or they're built on the coast so you can trade. Not Johannesburg. It just built up because there was a diamond mine there, and they had to build a railway and stuff like that. So it's kind of a unique situation. And the cool thing about it, you know, when I first started with this company, they were only doing 1 night in Johannesburg. But once I got down there, I thought that it should be 2 nights, but also the comment sheets reflected that, you know, why are we only doing 1 night in Johannesburg? After you've seen it, you see that you need to be there more than 1 night. So it is a must-see along the way. when we're in Johannesburg, we're going to stay at the Fairlawns Hotel. And this is a beautiful hotel. It's in a park-like setting in the middle of Johannesburg in a sort of a neighborhood called Stanton. Every room is a suite, and every room has a different design. Could be Asian, could be African, European, all kinds of different things. So when you check in as your group, you're all running around checking each other's rooms to see who got what, where, when. So, which is kind of fun. And this, to me, is my favorite hotel on the trip. It's a great place. Look at that picture on the left-hand side. You see that swimming pool? Behind that is a spa. And get a facial, massage, anything like that along the way. This spa is rated the #1 spa in all of Southern Africa. Not South Africa, Southern Africa. It's pretty great. So, you know, on one of the days in Joburg, book yourself a massage. I actually booked a facial once. I felt pretty glamorous afterwards, but I did it. Just felt good. A lot of traveling, stuff like that. This is the lobby of the hotel, the restaurant, great food. One of the nights we're going to have dinner at the hotel. We'll bring in a local, again, historian, tell you the history of Johannesburg. Give you how famous this hotel is. This is back in the 20 teens. All these people from prominent prime ministers, presidents, when they came to South Africa, this is the hotel they stayed in. So I don't know if you can recognize some of these people. Some of them I can't. I've seen this picture, I don't know how many times, but I still can't name them all. But I can see Nelson Mandela, I can see Desmond Tutu, and I can see Jimmy Carter. And there's a German chancellor there. I think the Indian prime minister, a few others anyways, but we can keep guessing, I guess. But anyways, I just wanted to show you that, it is a pretty cool hotel. On the full day in Joburg, we're going to head down to the arts downtown area. This is where the art scene is thriving. Kind of like an area that used to be warehouses. Now they're building lofts, outdoor entertainment, all kinds of different things. So we'll look around the arts district in downtown Johannesburg to see how it's up and coming. Every city has a sort of, an area that's, sort of being disbanded, and then the art scene, the artists, they move in and they rebuild. Exactly what happened in Johannesburg. From there, we're going to go down to Soweto. Soweto actually means Southwest Township. And back in the day during apartheid, with the white government, whites had about, so they told it to me, maybe 8% of the population. Rest of the population, as they say, was black, or they say colored, which is mixed race. During apartheid, that white government said, okay, the blacks could only have these jobs and could only live here. If you were colored, you could live in this neighborhood and you could only have these jobs. This is what apartheid, a lot of it was about. It just wasn't right. And so I was in Cape Town, Johannesburg, back in 2017, and I was with one of our guides, Lucky. And I said, Lucky, take me somewhere no one else goes, no visitors go to. I want to see what it's all about. And he goes, okay. So we drove out to Soweto and we went to this place called Kliptown, KYP, which is, they have a youth center there called the Kliptown Youth Center. He introduced me to this guy here, Tulani. And Tulani was trying to build a youth center as well as a school to get the kids to come to school so he could educate them and prepare them for university so they could get out of Soweto and get good jobs. And that's his goal. And you can kind of see some of the kids in the background that went to the school. And when I first visited Tulani, his school was a little field where they would play soccer, and the walls were made out of aluminum or tin. Bathrooms were outhouses. It was a tough neighborhood. And I was talking to Tulani, he was telling me his story and stuff, but he kept looking at his watch. And I go, Tulani, am I bothering you? Do you want me to leave? And he goes, no, Todd, I know I love telling my story, but I have I'm just so nervous today. And I go, Lonnie, why are you nervous? He goes, well, to be honest with you, I have to get on a plane tonight, and I've never been on a plane. And I go, oh my God, you're getting on a plane? Where are you going? He goes, Atlanta. And I go, Atlanta? Why are you going to Atlanta? And he goes, Todd, I'm really not quite sure why I am. It's something to do with CNN Hero of the Year award. And somebody had nominated him to be Hero of the Year award. So he flew to Atlanta. He did the interview. He was on TV. He didn't win, but this is him saying, you know, he was so nervous to fly. He told me the first time he had a hot water shower was when he was 28 years old. He had never experienced the sensation of hot water on his body before that. And he said, I stood underneath that water for almost an hour. And then for the first month, and he got his water bill. And he said no more 1 hour showers and stuff like that. But today, Kulani has built, thank goodness for the AmaWaterways guests that have seen the experience here, have donated, and he's built his youth center. He now has a school. Remember when I was there first day, it was like 30 students. He now has 800 in a matter of 8 years. He rebuilt, he managed the Ama guests. They see the story and they're amazing. Past guests, I've left him in his will. It's just and they've left things for him. So he's managed to build a school and the youth center. Still has a ways to go. He's got teachers there and stuff like that. And pretty incredible story. And we flew him out to Los Angeles. He spent a day in our office, had lunch, we laughed, he showed him around. We did all kinds of different things and stuff. And him and a couple of the teachers, they left at the end of the day and they were going back to the airport. And he sent me a message and he goes, Mr. Todd, thank you very much. What an incredible day you had. You treated us so special. Not many people in our world treat us special. So that kind of hurt me, what these people have to experience. So he's an incredibly good guy. Just to give you another example of Soweto and how inspiring it is, there's a fellow from Arizona that came back. He was a wealthy guy, and he reached out to us once he got back, and he said he wanted to do something for Fliptown Youth Project to the school. Is there anything that they could use? So I called up Tulani, and he said, well, we don't have computers in the school. It'd be great if the students could get laptops. So I called Bob, the guest, and I said, well, he says laptops. They don't have any computers, but they're getting computer desks and stuff. So Bob went out, and we had them shipped down. Look at this. This is the day the shipment came in from Bob to the laptops that he got for the school. And just look at the look on the kid's face, So pretty inspiring what people can do. And so he donated 15 laptops. That was a good start. And so again, that was the Clip Down Youth Project. The other thing that we do on this day is visit the Sanctuary Mandela. This is the home of Nelson Mandela, a former home, but he had a private chef. And you can see her there on the left-hand side. I call her Sochi. And Nelson passed away in 2015, but she opened up a restaurant in part of his house. And she still serves there today. So we go to the restaurant, and for lunch, she tells you the story, and she serves you Nelson's favorite meals, what he always ate. So it's kind of a cool story. Last thing I want to share is, a documentary called The Lion's Share. Again, it's on Netflix. And if you all know the story, or that song, In the Jungle, the Mighty Jungle, the Lions Sleep Tonight, we all think that's from Disney. It's not. It originated in Soweto. And this is the band, and it's a story of this song from the 1930s, where it made its way to today. You'll actually meet in the documentary some of the next generation. And it's a story that it's not what you think. So I'll leave it at that, The Lion's Share. After 2 days in Johannesburg, we're going to head out to Kruger National Park. We're going to stay in this beautiful, intimate, 5-star, all-inclusive lodge. It's kind of a family-run operation. They only have 6 suites and then 2 two-bedroom suites. Every suite comes with the private plunge pool. When you're at Chinswalo Safari Lodge, everything's included, your food, your drinks, your safaris, and what I get most excited about, laundry. And you all want to do laundry along the way. So free laundry at Chinswalo. I should backtrack a bit. The laundry on Zambezi Queen is inexpensive, and it's good for the local economy because they take your clothes and they go wash it in the village, and then they bring them back the next day. So it helps the villagers. So I want to show you the suites are absolutely beautiful. The single suites are about 750 square feet with the private plunge pool, and you can see the lodge overlooks a dry riverbed. When it rains, a lot of the animals come down onto the riverbed. We're spending 3 nights here, and these are some of the big 5, the animals you're going to see: the rhino, the lion, buffalo, leopard, and the elephant. So a lot of people say, I want to see the big 5. This is where to do it. And you're going to learn a lot about, while you're out there, about how they're trying to save the rhino. I'm not going to tell you a lot about it now, but they've found a unique way to stop the poaching of the rhinos. Let's hope it works. Actually, by the time you take this trip, you'll have a lot more information on, is it working or not? It's just a few other pictures of when you go out on safari. It's an open safari vehicle, window seats, or sort of you're on the side. Pretty cool experience. Now, again, we're not going to have any sound on this video, but I wanted to show it to you. And this is from a guest, again, sent this to me. And they are in one of the safari vehicles. This is late last year in Kruger National Park. Pretty cute. There's your vehicle. So it does. You see how close you actually become to the animal. Pretty neat. Let's see. I got one more video. This is from the lodge overlooking the balcony. Look hard. You know what that is? Could that be a rhino? I thought it was a lion, but now I'm thinking it might be a rhino. No, it's got to be a lion. It's hard. Let's do a replay on that. We can ask each other when we get back. I don't know. That's a hard one. Dad got this last week. They sent it to me from the lodge. I didn't ask him what the animal was. I thought it was, the way it's set down, it's got to be a lion. Anyways, you're eating dinner on the balcony, and let's see, I think there's a few more. See whether, what's going on here? There's the lounge. Pretty cool place. People hanging out. But can we just do this one more time? I don't want to take up too much time. I wish I could blow this up. I think it's a lion. Okay,
Those look like lions. Those are lions.
Does it look like a lion? Yeah. Okay. So pretty cool, huh?
It's a pride.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, there's more sitting down there. Do you see that? So so that's your 3 nights in Kruger. While you're in Kruger, you're going to do morning and afternoon safaris. They have activities for you to do during the day, but if you don't want to join in the activities, you don't have to. If you want to skip a safari, don't worry, there's another one later in the day. So it's very, very relaxing. It's 3 nights and all inclusive. You don't have a worry in the world. And the experience is nothing like it. That's all I can tell you. It's it will be a highlight of your life, if you could say it that way. From Kruger, you're going to fly back again in a jet from Kruger back to Johannesburg. And from there, you fly back in the late morning and you get to Johannesburg in the early afternoon, and then early that night, you'll fly back to North America. And that's your 2-week journey in South Africa. But we're not quite finished this. We just want to run over a few more things. First, I just want to say this is your classic 2-week trip. Not a classic. It's an incredible trip of animals, but food, culture, and people. And because it's 2 weeks, it's actually our most popular itinerary. And it's an itinerary that you can go on and say that you've seen it. You've seen Africa, this part of the world, because the odds are you'll never go back. And it's a long ways to go. So if you're going there, try to see it all. There's one more thing I want to just present, and this is an extension to see the gorillas up in Rwanda. And this will be, I don't know, this is, what do you call it? The cream of the, not the cream of the cake, the topping on the, what's that saying? Cream of the crop, cream of the.
Cherry on top.
So this is the cherry
Icing?
on top.
Creme de la creme.
Creme de la creme. I was getting them mixed up. So it's cherry creme. Anyways, the experience I had here is, well, I'll tell you in a second, but in the picture here, there's Rudy and Christine. They were like the owners, started up AmaWaterways. They went there for their second honeymoon. And Christine came into my office and I said, so Christine, how'd it go? What'd you think of Rwanda? And she looked at me, and this is the honest truth. Tears started coming down her eyes. And she said it was the most emotional experience she has ever had in her life. I think when you come face to face with a gorilla, you can see, and this is my own personal opinion, how close we are to the gorilla or vice versa. Absolutely insane with their mannerisms, even their facial features and the way they do things. Just absolutely crazy. When we're up in Rwanda, we're going to stay at a locally owned, sort of like it's like a bed and breakfast, but it's not. It's like a mansion. Big home with like 7 deluxe suites, locally owned, comes with the pool. It's in the middle of a small town, but it's, again, private with the foliage surrounding it. This is the lobby area. It's called the Bishop's House. There's a restaurant, incredible food. They have a little spa, they have a gym, and it's very, very intimate, and you really do get to know the staff. And to give you an idea of what you do with the gorillas, these are mountain gorillas. They are at 8,000 to 9,000 feet up in the mountains. They're not running around in jungles or anything like that. It's cool up here, 60, 70 degrees type of thing. And you have to trek to see the gorillas. And when you trek to see the gorillas, it's usually from 1 hour to say 2.5 hours to see the gorillas. You never know how long the trek is going to be. What they do is they send out trackers the night before. There are like 3 families in this particular area, and trackers stay out in the forest and the mountains that night to find out where the gorillas are going to set up camp that night, because their sleeping point is different. Every night they sleep somewhere different. And so the trackers come back and say, well, this family's here, this family's here, this family's here. And then, so the next morning they know where to take you. So when I was back there in November, they said, okay, we're going to go see a family of 23 gorillas. It'll take a couple hours. Great, no problem, stuff like that. And then as we trekked through the bamboo and stuff like that, we finally got there, our tracker said, I'm sorry, it's not a family of 23. It's a family of 24. And the reason is the mama had a baby overnight. And it was there right in front of us. It was absolutely insane. And to give you an idea of how close you get to these gorillas, I took these pictures when I was there. And of course, my favorite one is the one on the bottom left-hand side, and I call him the thinker. So isn't that, it's pretty cool. So, it costs a lot to go trek to see the gorillas. It's $1,500 for the permit, but it goes to a good cause. They're endangered. It's to keep them going. Also, the trekkers are former poachers. And if you pay them well, they won't go out and poach anymore. There's still issues in Congo, but here in Rwanda, they're good to go. Look in the middle photo there. You see that golden monkey? There it is here. One day you can go see the gorillas. Next day you can trek. It's an easier trek to go see the golden monkeys. They are just as endangered as the gorillas, and they live up in the mountains too. But the permit to go see them is $100. And I feel they get neglected because everyone wants to see the gorillas, but the golden monkeys are just as endangered and need the help. And so to me, do the gorilla trek one day, it's a half day, and then the next day do the golden monkey trek. And yeah, maybe I've done too much of it. The golden but I got to do one more documentary, guys. Virunga means volcano, and the mountains around where the gorillas that you're going to visit, they're called the Virunga Mountains or the Volcano Mountains, and they form the border between Rwanda and Congo. And this is the story of the gorillas and the poaching, how it started, and I can't tell you the whole thing because I had it saved on Netflix for a couple of, I'd say 18 months before I got the nerve to watch it. But once I watched it, I was okay. You'll see why. So it's worth it. So there's again, it's on Netflix. I don't even have a subscription to Netflix anymore. But anyways, so it's just something to think. So the last thing is I want to say we're looking forward to having you on board.